All right. Hello. Oh, this is the wrong situation. Let me go up here. There we go. Hi, everyone. You're more here, back again. Sorry it's been so long. Been caught up with a lot of stuff. You know, Halloween was a very busy time. Thanksgiving, a lot of accidents happening up there when it comes to Thanksgiving. But now I'm back, hopefully to be on a lot more often. And I thought for a first stream back, I was gonna take it easy for a little bit, not do anything that might frustrate me or anything like that. Although when it comes to this topic, it might. Uh, so what we're gonna do today, if you guys seen my previous streams, I've been getting into Magic Gathering a lot more recently. But one thing I don't really know much about is the lore. I know like the general themes of like certain sets, but I don't know the precise like timeline and lore that Magic Gathering apparently has. I've heard some people talk about it and how it's not really well thought out, but uh, today we have an entire video that talks about it, the entire story of Magic the Gathering, as we can see here, made by Spice 8 Rack. I actually seen him a couple of times playing like actual play shows for Magic the Gathering. Very funny person, but I haven't seen his video. And I thought since this is gonna be my first stream back, we'll just take it easy and just watch something. So we'll watch through this, we'll react to it. Then when it comes to with stream time, we should be out here maybe 2.5 hours if I'm doing my reacting correctly. However, aside from that, let me max this out and we'll get started. If I go quiet, the reason I'm wearing this shirt is because I'm sick right now, so I'm just trying to warm up. So let's just hope. Yeah, I've been sick for a little bit, but hopefully cough will go away. So if I cough accidentally, apologies. All right, let's start this, and I will keep captions on just in case. Ooh, that's not good. Hmm. Audio should be going on. Ooh, that's not good. Okay, let me do something real quick. See if this is the problem. Speakers. Hey, Mazed, how's it going? So, apologies right now. It seems like the audio is not working correctly. So, I might have to try to use a different browser. So, if you pardon me, I'm doing well. Uh, we're just gonna do a live reaction kind of thing for the first stream back. Gonna learn about the lore of magic. Okay, let me see if there's an audio thing in this browser. What? Hmm. So I might have to use my main browser for this because at least I know that has the audio working. Okay, there we go. Now it's working. I had to switch to a different browser. All right. Let's maximize this. All right, set that back up. Audio on. All right, and let's start. Okay. First, okay, a lot of information at the start of that. Okay, so there's multiple dragons. They were spawned off, so that's pretty much the start of this whole thing. Is that as there was light, there was now dragons. Okay. Okay, then the world is okay. There's one world, then there's also different planes that I can gather because of just playing Magic. Is like there's different planes that people can visit to. All right, I think we got there. The mirror just scribbled on. All right. So Rosia, Selesnya, Rule. Okay, so these are just what the colors would be in Magic. Okay, and so they're guilds technically. Okay, again, a lot of information going on. Okay, so this guy met a planeswalker, killed her to take her power. Everyone got upset at that and caused a civil war. Then he got after blowing up the moon, and he traps himself with it, and Revik traps him in that. We're only 2 minutes in, by the way. At a certain point, I feel like my mind's gonna melt if I as this goes on. Okay. 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 This I kind of understand just because this is a newer set and newer cards. Okay. And it feels like we're just bouncing between different like planes. Like so. Okay. So are they just talking about a different? Okay, I might have to. Era. Okay. So it definitely looks like it's going to talk about different uh, things here. Okay, looking at this, it might just talk about the overall lore, then go into different sets of the story, like the different card like types. All right, let's continue. Okay. All right. All right. Okay. So okay, we understandably like Mishra, bad guy, like just pretty much like got corrupted by the Phyrexians and just like generally like becoming evil. It feels like with all this shit, it sounds like Urza's worse. Am I not wrong to thinking that with all this information? And to be fair, these are older cards, so it's not even like. So I'm wondering if this is like older lore, and they tried to possibly fix some stuff in the like in future sets, or if this is just how the stories forever is. Excuse me. Either way, that's fuck Urza. I think that's the only thing I can really say. Okay. Hmm. Okay. Okay. It feels like I need a crazy board with red string just to keep everything together. Okay, so we are currently in the Weatherlight Saga. So we passed Urza and then we're in here. So what I gathered so far is pretty much. I think if I think too much of it, I'll go insane. All right. So pretty much, this chick is trying to gather all the artifacts to get to pretty much build the ultimate weapon. Okay, sounds good. Okay. Jesus. Okay. I do like goblins. However, I don't think I would want. I don't think anyone wants to be owned by them. That sounds not great. That is. So what I can gather here is the Fury is probably the smartest one out of all this group, or at least so far. Okay. Okay. So pretty much this whole situation was ship crew trying to build artifacts, tried to get Karn and several others. They escaped with a few people either dying or being left. But because of that, now the invasion has started. Okay. It's hard to give commentary like this, especially because you don't know what the hell's going on. But trying to do my best here. What? There's no way. Like I okay. I know in later stories it's Nicobolus that's like the villain, but from the sounds of it, it sounds like with early Magic Gathering, Urza was just a piece of shit. Oh, you can't hear? Hold on. Oh shit. Oh god damn it! Do I have to start over? Properties. Oh god damn it! I fucking hate Windows updates. They reset all my shit. Uh,
That was part.
yep. There we go. All right. So let's see if I can recap the bullshit that's been going on here. So pretty much, talked about Thran, talked about the Civil War he started, talked about and the fear and the Fury, I think. Oh, Nahiri. Talks about Nahiri for a quick moment. Then it focuses on the whole war between Urza and Mishra. Then uh, it just goes on until you go into different stories about how the Phyrexian invasion happens. And the reason why I said no way was because Urza is just getting worse and worse as much as we're talking about. And pretty much how the story has or how it's going, I'll just replay this part.
Meanwhile, Hannah and Jared's relationship is going great until Hannah catches a Phyrexian plague and dies. Her dad, the wizard Baron, who used to work at the Tellurian College, is distraught, and Urza's like, "Man, I'm sorry I manipulated you into falling in love and having a child with your co-worker Rain just so I could breed people with strong connections to white mana to one day become part of the legacy weapon itself by sacrificing their life for it. That's also the reason that Jared and Sisay were born as well. It was all part of Operation Bloodline, you see. I've been clandestinely selectively breeding human beings and pulling the strings to make sure they all end up together, so I guess it's a little bit of my fault that all of this went down." Sorry, that was probably a bad time to drop that some of your most beautiful life events were all instigated by me so that I could out eugenics a wizard Nazi.
So that's what I meant when I said no way. Yes. That is a very interesting choice for a character, especially since it's supposed to be the good side against the Phyrexians. But yep, I think after learning about this, the Phyrexians might have a point because that is heinous.
You gonna be okay, champ? Baron blows up the entire of the Tellurian continent with him still on it, unfortunately not killing Urza, and the Dominarians manage to push back the Phyrexians and destroy their invasion portals. Congratulations folks, we've defeated the Phyrexians once and for all. Hey, what's that shimmering landscape seemingly coming into existence across every continent on Dominaria? Well, that's the Wrathy overlay that Yawgmoth is using to teleport the entire Phyrexian army and the plane of Wrath itself straight onto Dominaria and occupy the entire world at once. Bugger. Squee gets captured by Yawgmoth and given to Krovax, who's taken Volrath's place as the Evencar of Wrath, and also to the newly corrupted Urtai as a plaything. They give him the gift of immortality just so that they can kill him forever.
Oof.
The 9 Titans decide that now is the time to invade Phyrexia and cut the invasion off at the source, but then just a whole lot of betraying happens. Tevesh Zat, the most obviously evil of all the 9 Titans, kills Daria and Christina of the Woods because he was secretly working for Phyrexia. But then Urza reveals that he knew Tevesh would betray him, and so betrays Tevesh and stuffs him in a contraption that'll act as a spirit bomb to destroy Phyrexia. He could have, of course, done this at any time, meaning that Daria and Christina absolutely died for nothing.
Yeah.
But then Urza, upon being in Phyrexia and not getting his ass beat, is like, huh, this whole place is actually kind of impressive when you think about it, and dismantles the contraption so as to preserve Phyrexia. So, you died for even less than nothing, you two. Then Gerard turns up and cuts Urza's head off for being a fucking rube, and also because he betrayed Dominaria because Yawgmoth promised him that if he killed Urza, he'd resurrect Hannah. But then Gerard betrays Yawgmoth and escapes from Phyrexia with Urza's head, whose eyes, being 2 halves of the Power Stone that he and Mishra found all those years ago, are the final pieces of the legacy weapon. Oh, and Squee kind of betrays his role as an infinite murder toy by killing Krovax whilst he's distracted with all of these other betrayals going on. Some of the remaining Titans who are still on Phyrexia blow up their own soul bombs, almost totally destroying the plane, and Yawgmoth says if you want a job done properly, you gotta do it yourself, and invades Dominaria as a death cloud which ends up killing all life on the plane before the legacy weapon gets activated.
Okay. So, like I said, I don't know if this is old lore or if this is like new lore that they've been slowly coming out with. But if this is old lore that they've made like at Star of Magic, what the fuck were they smoking? This is insane. Like I understood, like the what I understood about like Magic's system when it comes to like lore and all that is that there's just different like planes of like different planes that you know are like that have different realms they can visit. Honestly, like I thought that was just most of it, but let's say this, it feels like someone's smoking crack over at Wizards of the Coast. But anyways,
And that's it. That's how the story ends. Jared, Urza, even Squee all dead, with Phyrexia winning an ultimate but Pyrrhic victory. At which point, Commodore Goth, one of the last remaining Titans, looks up from the book where all of this is written down and goes, "That was a tad dreary, wasn't it?" And Bolivar, another remaining Titan, is like, "Wait, you knew that was gonna happen? Change it, you stupid ass!" So Guff rewrites the ending just as both of them are consumed by the Death Cloud and literally retcons the whole narrative so that Jared managed to sacrifice himself just in time to destroy Yawgmoth because Commodore Guff has the power of meta storytelling. No, this isn't a pithy gag, that's literally his Planeswalker power.
all right. Why do I feel like he's gonna come in multiple times just retcon shit? Because if he has the like meta knowledge and is able to change anything that happens, I feel like this character is made just for Wizards of the Coast saying, "Oh, people didn't like that. We can change that real quick." All right.
And after all of this, Khan ascends to being a Planeswalker. Trust me, there are worse ways to end a multi-year build-up to a Phyrexian invasion, but now we're in a period of peace and rebuilding as Dominaria takes a breather and a magical device called the Mirari is discovered, which is said to grant great power and wishes, and the entire continent of Otaria, which means loser in Portuguese by the way, goes to war with each other over it. A lady with an unlit Planeswalker spark called Jeska is born as a pit fighter and killed by her brother, who's driven mad by the Mirari. She's brought back by the Cabal, a totally legitimate business enterprise, as Phage, like King Midas, but with death rather than gold. She goes to war with the Cabal's rival, a guy called Ixidor, and an angel he created, but then gets killed again by her brother, this time because he's been working on himself and is sorry about what his Mirari madness has caused. So he stabs her with the Mirari sword that he'd previously given up and then reclaimed when he realised that leaving it in the woods was having some annihilation-style effects on the local flora and fauna. But then, because of some 20,000-year-old prophecy bollocks and the power of the Mirari now stuck in her chest, Jeska/Phage comes back as Corona, spelt with a K, YouTube. A very manifestation of all of Dominaria's mana. But because of her Planeswalker spark, she's also able to explore the multiverse. But because of the Mirari, she's also kind of mad. Her existence and habit of leaving the plane starts to drain Dominaria of all of its mana, so Khan manages to take her to an artifact plane called Argentum and takes the Mirari out of her to destroy this version of her form, rebirthing her for a third and final time as Jeska again, and finally igniting her Planeswalker spark. Speaking of the birth of Planeswalkers, a girl called Liliana is born around here to a wealthy Dominarian family, but her brother falls sick with leftover Phyrexianitis. She meets a nice man with bird motifs in the woods, and he tells her to use a special herb to preserve her brother's life. This works exactly as one could have expected, immediately turning her brother into a zombie, and the trauma of that ignites her spark. Don't trust men.
Okay, Liliana, if I remember correctly, she's the planeswalker that kind of looks over Ravnica, right? And call my shot because I think that's how it goes. Oh, we'll see.
With ravens. That's like one of the first 3 rules you learn about in forest navigation. But now we take a big break from Dominaria. Khan's on Argentum and transforms the Mirari into a metal man called Memnarch, both to watch over the plane and to keep the Mirari from falling into a villain's hands, but a single drop of Phyrexian oil leaks out of his butthole because he's still powered by Xanthia's Phyrexian heart, and it begins to corrupt the plane and its new custodian. Over several decades, the oil both drives Memnarch mad and lets him grow meat on his metal body, gross. He renames the plane to Mirrodin, kills all the native golems, and starts kidnapping creatures from other planes to breed a planeswalker spark. He finally succeeds with Glissa Sunstalker. Is it Sunstalker? Hang on. Sunseeker. Yeah, seeking is the less creepy version of stalking. He succeeds when Glissa Sunseeker is born, but she organises with a group of other Mirrans to stop Memnarch's plans. But in a final confrontation, both the elf and the wizard are slain just as Memnarch's machine activates and wipes out all life on Mirrodin, except for that of the goblin Slowbad, who the machine accidentally implants with planeswalker powers rather than Memnarch. Khan shows up, the barriers blocking him from the plane now gone, and offers to guide Slowbad throughout the multiverse. But the goblin decides instead to give up his spark to undo the death wave, resurrect Glissa, and return all but the non-natively born creatures of Mirrodin to their own worlds. Goblin Jesus is then fittingly murdered for our sins by a clan of very confused and angry goblins, and the Mirari was given to Glissa for safekeeping. She must have hid it very well, because even the writers of Magic Story have forgotten it existed for the past 20 years.
Okay, that one is kind of easy to understand, at least. Creature was put on there, has the Minari, becomes mad by it, starts kidnapping creatures across the plains, then tries to kill all of them. But Goblin Jesus resurrects them, but also dies for that. I think I'm getting it. I think I'm getting it. I'm just waiting for these smaller ones, just so things will make a little bit more sense.
Hey, do you like cool stuff? Then why don't you ink a check to coolstuffinc.com? I don't think they accept checks. Cool Stuff Inc. sells all the magic cards you've heard about in this video, from Slowbad to Nicol Bolas to everybody's favourite character, Niall Sylvain. Each time you look away from him, he gets a little bit closer. You can buy singles, sealed product, even D&D accoutrement from them. Did you know that One Piece has a card game? Get your copies of Charlotte Cracker from CoolStuffInc.com, now only $4.99. It's like you're losing money by not buying it. If this video has inspired you to make the mistake of getting into Magic the Gathering, then I'm here to lessen the financial toll of that awful decision with my promo code. Use SPICE at the checkout to get 5% off of any order. Why, with that code, for every 20 Charlotte Crackers you order, you'll get one free. How can such a generous business model survive? Thank you to Cool Stuff Inc. for sponsoring this video and for making it so easy to build Magic the Gathering decks. Get your game on today by using SPICE at checkout. The style of this ad read was lovingly ripped off from the much better YouTuber Noodle. I like his work a lot, and I hope this is taken as the flattery I intend it to be, and not as intellectual theft. Anyway, back to the video! Smash cut to Ravnica, where every...
Right. Original Ravnica, okay. So, I think the chick I was talking about before becomes some sort of ruler in Ravnica. I think this is what it's going to cover.
Everything is fine. Just kidding, a civil war is about to break out because of some proper film noir bollocks. A secret 10th guild, the Demir, led by Zadek, a vampire, is planning on taking over the city world for themselves, but they're stopped and Zadek is arrested just in the nick of time by Agris Kos, a down-on-his-luck Boros cop from a failed marriage with a drinking problem who's just one day away from retirement. Hey, I'm a storytelling trope over here! Hooray, the city is saved. But Zadek getting arrested was actually all part of the plan. Because the Demir's purpose as secretly written in the Guild Pact was to oppose the Guild Pact, Zadek's machinations were well within his guild's duties, and so his arrest breaches the magical contract which protects guilds in their assigned roles and destroys the Guild Pact entirely, which was Zadek's plan all along. But then, the leader of the Azorius assassinates Zadek in prison to use his ghost as a weapon to seize power for himself. But then, Kos, who's a ghost now because of a dragon-related incident in which he saved the city for a second time, traps Zadek's soul himself and unleashes that on Augustin, saving Ravnica for a third time. A new non-magical guild pact is drafted by Teysa Karlov to bring about an end to all of these contrivances, and a very tenuous peace is reformed on Ravnica.
Oh.
Wait, what was that sound? Oh, it's the Mending. Okay, so you remember all the space-time disasters that were going on Dominaria throughout its history? Well, turns out they've taken quite a toll on the entire multiverse, and now they need to be fixed or everyone everywhere all at once will unravel and cease to be. Teferi, Jeska, Lord Windgrace Freyleys, and some new kids on the block, Rada and Venser, come together to close the time rifts. Both Catman and Poison Ivy die closing theirs, Teferi gives up his spark to close his, returning Shiv to Dominaria but being unable to return Zalfir. Jeska gets manipulated by Leshrac, who returns to the story just long enough to get killed by a resurrected Nicol Bolas, who came back because of the rift that he opened whilst fighting that Leviathan 1,000 years ago. Nicol Bolas uses Leshrac's life to close that rift, then Jeska dies herself, closing the rift that had been caused by her rebirth as Corona. Rest in peace, baby doll. Khan.
They love killing off planeswalkers, huh? I feel maybe that's why there's so many reprints of the same characters, is because they just killed a lot of like older ones. It's like we need to keep these characters going. Like we can't take any more out.
Closes the final rift by going back in time to the Isle of Teleria before Baron blew it up and sacrificing his spark. He's flung back to the present and immediately feels the corrupting Phyrexian oil in his heart, which had up until this point been kept dormant due to his spark, beginning to overtake him. He uses the last of his planeswalker magic to flee to the heart of Mirrodin and contain himself there, leaving a message that none should follow. This final rift sealing not only saves the multiverse, but significantly depowers all planeswalkers. Rather than being near gods, they now must contend with only being hyper-powerful mages and warriors. They're also on cards now, which 20-something years later, everyone agrees was a great narrative move and kind of a mechanical mistake. At the same time as all of this, Kamigawa completes its digital revolution, very cool. Nicol Bolas turns up on Amonkhet and genocides the plane of everyone over the age of 5 and begins his cruel plans to reascend to become a pre-mending god. Whack. Liliana is guided by Nicol Bolas to 4 demons to sign her soul away in exchange for some cool full-body contractual tattoos and also eternal youth and lots of power. Concerning. And an elf called Nissa is born. Ooh! On Zendikar, the young Nissa feels a connection to the world which is roiling with pain because of those 3 skyscraper-sized eldritch splinters trapped in one of its mountain ranges. Nissa goes to investigate what's hurting her world and is mind-blasted into planeswalking to a world called Lorwyn. Starwipe to Lorwyn, and holy macaroni, what a delightful Celtic-inspired world of an eternal summer's afternoon that a really cool person who's also good at sex made a totally not bloated video essay about. Everything's pretty good on Lorwyn, except for the elf Nazis, who Nissa meets hunting down the plane's native goblins for quite literally the crime of being ugly. As it turns out, however, the plane has an inverted side that overtakes the world every 300 years. Nissa sees this happening and skedaddles before she's caught in the world-altering aurora, which transforms Lorwyn into Shadowmoor, where everybody but the elves are Nazis. Is that worse? I guess? Una, the Queen of the Fae on Lorwyn, knew the shift was coming and made a copy of herself that would retain her memories when the Aurora came so that she could remain in control of the world. The copy, an elf called Marilyn, was like, actually, I'ma fuck off on my own for a bit. And when the Aurora hit, ended up defeating Una and restoring the day-night cycle of Lorwyn and Shadowmoor rather than it being a thrice-centennial event. Why not celebrate this victory with another baby? Tezzeret is born on Esper, a cruel artificial realm where people are partially made of metal, with the upper class's bodies being supplemented with precious Ethereum, and metal must always be recycled. He ferociously pushes to train himself and ascend the class structure, but when he's rebuffed one too many times, he tries to steal the filigree texts. Essentially this world's equivalent of the Quran, Encyclopedia Britannica, and The Way Things Work all rolled into one. But he finds the author pulled a Kung Fu Panda dragon scroll and every page is just blank, and the guards try and kill him as his planeswalker spark ignites and he meets Nicol Bolas, who promises him power in exchange for service. Ow, my brain! Was that an overload of fun lore knowledge? No, that was Jace Beleren being born on a Tales from the Loop looking war world as a dirt poor but hyper powerful mind mage who gets trained in the art of mind thievery by the Sphinx Alahammerit. Turns out, however, that old Al is manipulating Jace into carrying out espionage for both sides of a civil war and profiteering off of it. So Jace makes him forget how to breathe, which is the sickest way a mind mage could ever kill someone, and Alhammerit wipes the boy's mind with his last act, which causes Jace's Planeswalker spark to activate, and he finds himself on Ravnica with no knowledge of who he is. He ends up working for a multiversal requisitions organization called the Infinite Consortium, ran by the most inconsistently drawn character in Magic the Gathering's entire history. What does the Infinite Consortium do? Well, its boss Tezzeret made a deal with the Phyrexian forces growing in the heart of Mirrodin and developed a device on Kamigawa which he then tried to use to control the spirit dragon Kyodai to enable travel between realms for non-Planeswalker Phyrexians. But his plan fails and instead ignites the Emperor of Kamigawa's Planeswalker spark, rendering both it and her memory unstable, and she disappears from the plane.
Okay, there we go. You kill a bunch of planeswalkers, you just introduce some more. Alright.
Then her childhood friend Kato gets an origami robot Tanuki with a spirit inside it that ignites his spark, and he goes looking for her. So yeah, they do stuff like that. But Jace isn't the only baby among us. Chandra Nalav, daughter of the inventor renegades Pierre and Kieran, is born and becomes a pyromancer, which is both rare and illegal on her cog-punk India-inspired homeworld of Kaladesh. And soon a pig called Baral tracks her family down, kills her dad, and then Chandra explodes him and planeswalks to Ragatha to train in the pyromancer ways. I guess blue lives don't matter after all. Zing! A planeswalker called Vivian Reed is also born around this time on Scala, a plane that will one day be destroyed by Nicol Bolas for some reason. She is entrusted with the Arc Bow, both a magical database for all of her home plane's native fauna, but also a powerful weapon designed explicitly to be a weapon to destroy Nicol Bolas. Elspeth, another planeswalker, is also born around here. G is like someone was putting chemicals in the water to turn the freaking baby's magic. It's not entirely clear where she was born, as her mother says that the plane of Capenna welcomed them, and Elspeth herself prays to Serra of Serra's realm fame, potentially meaning that they're refugees from one of the realms that the Angel Planeswalker visited. Either way, she has a pretty normal childhood, being kept in a Phyrexian prison for most of her life. Yes, the Phyrexians are on Capenna as well, her spark igniting the moment before she suffers death via vivisection, arriving on the ancient Greek-inspired plane of Theros, finding a sword that falls out of the stars, panicking, and planeswalking away yet again to Bant, a literal evangelical crusader plane that only gets a pass because rhino monks and lion knights are dope to look at. Kythian is our last magic infant born around this time and is naturally indestructible. He runs with a crew of trouble-quelling kids in the Therosian city of Akros and gets arrested. Growing up in a prison, he learns how to use law magic, but instead of becoming a narc, he ends up returning to a life of community defense, getting noticed by the god of the sun Heliod and given a magic spear. He uses Heliod's magic to slay a zombie giant like the god asked of him, but when he tries to use it to kill Erebos, the god of the dead himself, the magic backfires, killing all of his friends, leaving him traumatized, igniting his spark, and planeswalking to Bant. The first person he meets can't pronounce Grecian-style names, calling him Gideon, and the kid just kind of runs with it for the rest of his life.
Okay, so that one is relatively easy to remember. Because, yeah, that's just kind of a Hercules-style story. Alright.
Let's check in with Tezzeret. Oh no, he's gone home only to be usurped from running his consortium by Jace, and they fight, with Jace blowing up Mr. Meccano's brain as well as cutting off his liquid metal arm. Nicol Bolas then turns up and quietly collects his one-time rival's body, Tezzeret having originally usurped the consortium from the dragon. Nicol Bolas revives him, gives him a new arm, and then brands him with a forehead tattoo to forever remind him of where his loyalty now lies. Jesus. But Jace wasn't alone. Liliana has been manipulating him, both strategically and romantically, into staging the coup. She's on her own quest to rid herself of her demon contract whilst retaining all the power it gave her, and finds a gaudy face accessory in some ogre's tomb. She uses the Chain Veil's dark magic to destroy one of the 4 signatory demons who own her soul, and also to curse another planeswalker called Garruk when the two get into a fight. Garruk fails to junt her out, and she escapes as the curse begins to corrupt him. Wait, what the pissing Nora does Jund her out mean? Could it possibly be referring to the Shard of Jund, part of the fractured plane called Alara where Bant, Esper, Grixis and Naya were all once one? Gee, I wonder what would happen if they all converged together again. That's the question on Nicol Bolas's weird lips. You see, the plane was once unified, but an unknown planeswalker plundered the plane for mana and shattered it into 5. Now Bolas seeks to reunify the shards and siphon the immense power that would generate to roid up his planeswalker spark again. He starts manipulating the magic and people of all the 5 shards into bringing about the conflux, but
Okay. I think we're getting to the story that I was told about where magic gets crazy. If I remember correctly, like, yeah, he's trying to gather as much power as he can to pretty much become akin to a god. And I think in the future, he is going to try to lure in as many planeswalkers as he can and try to kill them all just so he's able to get more power. At least that's what I suspect.
is ultimately stopped from succeeding by Ajani, a Leonin planeswalker and disaster magnet who uses soul magic to conjure an effigy of Bolas's soul and uses it to banish the dragon from the newly unified plane, and all is well. Just kidding, turns out the Crusader Kingdom doesn't like Zombie World, which doesn't care for Magic Amazon, who dislikes Reddit's idea of Utopia, which wants to destroy Jurassic Park, which wants to eat modded CK3, and now the whole world's at war. Let's get out of here and head to Zendikar! We're back, baby! Chandra arrives after having stolen a magical text called the Dragon Scroll. Sarkhan's also here, an exiled Mardu clansman from the hyper-orientalist plane of Tarkir who loves dragons so much he will one day cause genocides just to hang out with them at home. He saw Bolas on Alara, and because he's at a level of horny for dragons that ought to be illegal, willingly becomes his pawn and is hanging out guarding something called the Eye of Ugin, whatever that is. Chandra turns up because something about the spell she's trying to crack mentioned the Eye of Ugin, and Sarkhan attacks her but is thwarted by Jace, who turns up because the consortium was hired to retrieve the scroll from Chandra. Chandra uses the magic of the scroll to defeat Sarkhan, and it turns out that that magic is Ugin's Ghostfire. 3 planeswalkers plus Ghostfire plus Eye of Ugin equals Eldrazi O'Clock, baby! Hold on to your butts, they're about to either get mad or weird or dusty. Allegedly, this was all part of Bolas's master plan, with him manipulating Chandra into seeking the scroll and then hiring the consortium through a proxy to hunt her down, but it's never explained how this helps him in any way, and as we shall see, ends up forming the very organization that will one day defeat him. Nissa ends up rushing to the Eye along with Sorin to try and undo the damage, but ends up deciding instead to totally free the Eldrazi, hoping that they'll just piss off into magic space or something after having been trapped for so long in her world's mountains. This totally doesn't work, although even if it had, she would have just doomed another world to being completely devoured by Abstract Galactus, and instead Ulamog the Destroyer, Emrakul the Corruptor, and Kozilek, the one who traps you in your level's geometry, starts rampaging through and destroying Zendikar. Great job, Nissa, you smell! Gideon turns up, punches a few thousand monsters, and then starts travelling the multiverse, petitioning other planeswalkers to join the fight against the Eldrazi. Kinda like a Shen Yun world tour, except Gideon isn't the uncritically accepted PR campaign of a literal cult who uses anti-communist sentiment to promote a religion whose spiritual leader claims to be a messiah sent to Earth to fight the aliens who allegedly introduced the evils of evolutionary thought, homosexuality, and race mixing to our planet. Look, I lived in London for like half a year. Seeing at least 4 of these posters on my way to and from work each day instilled a pressurized contempt in me that occasionally needs to be released or I'll suffer a hernia. Wait, what was I talking about? Oh yeah, Koth! Koth is a Volshock planeswalker from Mirrodin who's following Gideon's lead in asking for help with his own problem, the re-emergence of Phyrexian creatures and corruption in his homeworld. A few people, Esper and Venser, join Koth, and oh boy, do they find some shit when they arrive. People are getting oiled up left, right and centre. Glisser's now on Team Goo, 5 new Phyrexian Praetors are winning out against the 5 respective areas of Mirrodin, who were all too caught up in petty squabbles or inaction far too long after the threat became apparent, and Khan is being worshipped as the new father of machines in Mirrodin's core. The plane is almost completely lost to Phyrexia apart from a few minor wins. First, Venser gives up his spark to Khan, freeing him from the corruption and letting him escape from the plane, although dying in the process, and Koth remains to fight alongside the Mirren Resistance, a ragtag group of people from all over the world who take their protracted Mirren's war quite literally underground. Amongst them as well is a lady called Melira, who seems to be uniquely immune to the effects of Phyresis. The 5 Praetors, Urabrask, Jin-Gitaxias, Vorinclex, Sheldred, and most importantly Elesh Norn are now in almost total control of Mirrodin and rename it New Phyrexia. Bloody colonizers. We poodle on over to Innistrad now, where... Oh Christ, what's going on? The Archangel that Sorin created to protect the plane is nowhere to be found, allowing for devils, demons, and little steampunk freaks to run the show. Liliana shows up to locate another one of her 4 demon masters, Griselbrand, and is pursued by an increasingly mouldy Garruk. She discovers that both the Archangel and Demon Master tripped over each other and fell into the Hell Vault, and goads the protector of the prison, a lady called Thalia, into either destroying the rock or letting all of her men be slaughtered by Liliana's zombies. She relents and breaks the Hell Vault, allowing for the return of Avacyn as well as many of Innistrad's demons, one of which Liliana immediately kills. Sucks to be you, Grizzly, and whilst no one's paying attention, one extremely pissed off Core climbs out and teleports away. But we'll return to Innistrad later. What's been going on in Ravnica? Well, it's been a minute and Civil War has been delayed, but tensions are rising as Niv Mizzet, one of the last remaining original payrons of the guilds, has discovered the Implicit Maze, a scavenger quest left behind by Azor to be found and solved in case the original guild pact was ever broken, which would designate its solver as the new living guild pact of the world. Jace ends up solving the puzzle whilst dodging assassination attempts from the Gorgon Planeswalker Vraska by mind-controlling all of the guild's champions during a final confrontation, which technically meets the maze's secret victory condition of somebody actually getting all of the guilds to cooperate for 5 minutes, and begrudgingly becomes the living guild pact of Ravnica, essentially the district attorney for the entire world. But what happened to Elspeth, I hear you cry? Well,
But what happened to Elspeth?
holy shit, Rowan, you're supposed to come in before the line. Jesus, how are you so bad at this? Well, she arrives back on Theros, hoping to find new meaning after what she feels is the final defeat at Phyrexia's hand that she can stand. Heliod notices her and the blade she's wielding and sets her on a quest to become his new champion, with sinister intentions. At the same time, the Planeswalker Xenagos has grown bored of all the multiverse has to offer and decides to attain godhood on his home plane, manipulating the gods into warring with each other and using a great revel to ascend to Nyx. Elspeth, who accidentally killed a guy called Daxos, who she was man-sweet for. I've written man-sweet? I'm pretty sure I should have written mad-sweet, but man-sweet also does work. She kills him due to the fervor brought about by Xenagos' revel, and so follows the satyr into the realm of stars and defeats him, only to be slain by Heliod because, at the end of the day, all he really wanted was his sword back. Oh, and Dajani, one of Elspeth's best friends, is there, and not super jazzed by this development. Also, a fish lady called Kiora shows up and nicks the sea god's trident, and stories are written about how it was the funniest shit ever to go down. But what's going on over on this plane? Fiora is a Renaissance Venice-looking land whose main seat of power, the High City of Paliano, is caught in a power struggle. The good king died but then came back as a ghostly despot, and a bunch of different characters are all vying to take the throne. Let's check back in to see if any of them do so in a few years. For now though, it's... Tarkir time. Sorin arrives on Tarkir looking for Ugin because he should have shown up when the Eldrazi got out of their prison, but
Okay, what chapter are we at? Okay, Hurricane. Of course.
all he finds are the bones of the long-dead spirit dragon, bones that Sarkhan also shows up at thanks to a guided tour from the leader of the Jeskai monks, Narset. Sarkhan's now disillusioned with Nicol Bolas and hearing a new dragon's voice in his head, which he suspects is that of Ugin. Narset gets knackered by Zergo Helmsmasher, Sarkhan's bitter old boss, but before the Dragon Man can do anything, he gets transported back in time. This is where he changes fate and saves Ugin's life after his battle with Bolas. You see, originally he wasn't supposed to be at their punch-up and Ugin was slain by Bolas, but now fate has been reforged and Sarkhan puts Ugin in a magically induced coma to heal him up. When Sarkhan comes back to the new future, dragons have become the total rulers over Tarkir, with the mortals of the plane subjugated. You see, Ugin's presence on the plane created dragon storms that disappeared when he died and allowed for the mortal clans to reclaim their plane from the invading dragons. However, in this new timeline, Ugin's millennia-long coma intensifies these tempests, probably because this cocoon looks uncomfortable enough to produce magical night terrors and leads the dragons to winning a total victory over the clans. Just as a sidebar, originally in the story, Ugin was a native to Tarkir and part of its very elemental soul, and so too therefore were the dragon storms, so the politics of subjugation and domination were a bit more complicated, but then he was retconned to be Bolus's twin brother, so now he's just a Dominarian settler and the dragons are an intrusive occupying force. Anyway, in this future, all 5 of the clan's cultures have been destroyed or remade, their civilizations now exclusively function in service of dragonkind, any worship or even knowledge of their past reality is met with death via dragon breath, and this is a... good thing? Not sure about that. Anyway, Ugin wakes up in this timeline to go to stop the Eldrazi, and Narset's also alive and a planeswalker now, and she teleports away to, I don't know, find herself. Speaking of Zendikar, it's all hands to the pump as most of the plane has already been destroyed. An all-star team of planeswalkers including Gideon, Nissa, Jace, Kiora briefly, and Ugin arrive to combat the monsters and destroy their material forms. Ugin warns that trapping them is better because the Titans are just physical representations of the Eldrazi and imprisoning those avatars here protects the wider multiverse, but everybody simultaneously says, yeah, how well did that work out last time? And before Ugin can point out that both Nissa and Jace are super to blame for shit going sideways in the first place, Operation Blow Up Cthulhu is enacted, with Chandra jumping in to deal the final blow to Ulamog and Kozilek, saving the day and forming the Gatewatch, a Planeswalker strike team of multiversal protectors. Oh, there's also the sickest scene in all of Magic's history, where the demon Planeswalker Ob Nixilis takes on all of the Gatewatch at the same time in order to destroy a trap made to capture Ulamog and regain his own spark, and manages to almost defeat them, getting around Gideon's indestructible skin by holding his face in a puddle. I pressed his face down hard into the muddy water. He thrashed and flailed. He sputtered and coughed, struggling to get purchase. I could feel the despair and fear as his hand slipped in the mud. Invulnerability was no match for 3 inches of dirty water.
That's a card. That would be pretty funny if that was like an artifact. Like, you know, all the good artifacts, endless water, soul rain, the mud. All right.
Not entirely sure why the voice of Ob Nixilis in my head is that of a disgruntled southern dandy, but I'll be damned if I don't point out ice-cold lines when they appear. But wait, only 2 Titans were destroyed. Where's Emrakul? Well, over to the greener pastures of Innistrad, where... Fuck me, what now? Everyone's losing their minds for some reason, including Avacyn and 2 of her sisters, forcing Sorin to slay his Archangel before she kills any more innocent people. Demons, zombies, and devils are making a big comeback, and a new cult worshipping a new symbol has cropped up. Jace arrives to investigate the ruckus and finds that Nahiri has been manipulating the population and the very land itself to guide Emrakul to the plane, to do to Innistrad what she blames Sorin for bringing to Zendikar. She also kills most of Sorin's vampire family before trapping him in a wall like how he stuffed her in the Hell Vault, a funny prank in amidst a magical genocide. Avacyn's death breaks down the final barrier needed for Emrakul to arrive, and the Gatewatch gather to seal her away in the Silver Moon of the plane with Liliana and Tamio's help, the former of which begrudgingly agreeing to join the Gatewatch afterwards, and Innistrad is left with just 1 angel watching over it. Both Nissa and Tamio report afterwards that they didn't act of their own volition, and Emrakul had manipulated them into sealing her away for some reason. However, this has never been addressed in the last 8 years of Magic's narrative, so who knows if this interesting tidbit has any plot relevance. Speaking of plot relevance, how are things going on Fiora? Well, this ghost assassin called Kaya was hired to kill the king, very cool, but as a result, an infamous native assassin has taken over the city, less cool. Some riotous goblins, dispossessed naturalists, and ex-members of the guard are all jostling to lead a revolution against her. Which faction will take the crown? Who knows? Conspiracy 3 hasn't been released yet. Back to the actual story. The Gatewatch then travels to Kaladesh after being hired by a planeswalker called Dovin Barn, who wants them to run security for the Plains Inventors Fair. Chandra discovers that her mum is alive and still doing cool revolutionary stuff, but she, her mum, and Nissa get captured by a severely burnt but still alive Baral and are to be executed in combat with the head judge of the fair, who, surprise surprise, is Tezzeret. However, the sudden appearance of the rest of the Gatewatch, along with Ajani, who signed up to their mailing list a little bit earlier, causes Tezzeret to flee, and he uses the confusion to decree the seizure of all the fair's inventions, causing the entire city of Girapur to be erupted in revolution! The renegade successfully defeats the consulate, but not before Tezzeret steals the most important invention, a planar bridge, which can transport non-living material across planes by fusing it into his chest and planeswalking away. The Gatewatch follow Tezzeret and end up on Amonkhet, a world mostly populated by zombies and sand, which is coarse and dry and gets everywhere. They make it to the plane's last remaining city, a gorgeous little slice of the world called Naktamun, where people from 5 different temples fight against each other in deadly competitions for the chance to pass from the city through the gates to the afterlife, where they are promised paradise. Chandra discovers a dissenter from this system, Samut, locked in a sarcophagus, and the Gatewatch disrupt one of these murder ceremonies just as the foretold arrival of the second sun begins the apocalyptic coming of hours. Turns out, though, that Armageddon both isn't spiritual and also sucks. Nicol Bolas has been turning the champions of the trials into an army of Ultimate Warrior mineral zombies, and now he unleashes them upon what few people remain on Amonkhet. Turns out, when he killed everybody older than a baby on the plane many years ago, he also destroyed all life outside this one city and brainwashed the 8 gods into believing that these trials had always been their world's way, so they'd feed him a never-ending supply of elite warriors. Oh, and all of the worker mummies that maintain this utopia are actually the reanimated corpses of all of the adults that the dragon killed when he first arrived on the world. Wait, did I say 8 gods? Yeah, 5 gods looked after the mortals, and then the last 3 Bolas kept back to destroy the other gods and the city once they'd both served their purpose. The Gatewatch try and defeat Bolas but fail miserably, with Jace getting brain bazookaed so hard that he planeswalks away, and what few normal survivors there are after the Hour of Devastation flee into the desert beyond the city. All of Bolas's murder machine gods attack the rest of the Pantheon, killing most of them, but the Red Jackal Hazoret's memory returns as she is saved by Samut, and when thanked by her god, the Speedster becomes a planeswalker due to pure spiritual euphoria. Yeah, it turns out you don't have to experience trauma to have your spark ignite. Go figure. Before they retreat, however, Liliana finds and kills Razaketh, the penultimate demon her contract is connected to. The gang fucks off to Dominaria, where Nissa points out that Liliana has clearly been using the Gatewatch to go after the demons that hold her soul contract as opposed to doing anything else, and Liliana's like, that is a disgusting accusation with no basis in reality whatsoever. But since we just happen to be on Dominaria, there is this guy called Belzenlock that I kind of need to find, and Nissa leaves the Gatewatch. The rest stick around because they hear tell of the legendary Blackblade, which could be used to slay Bolas and bump into a few old faces. Joyra and Squee, who aren't old faces because they're immortal actually, Khan, who's busy searching for one of those thermonuclear serving plates to blow New Phyrexia up with, Teferi, who gets bought out of his family man retirement when Joyra gives him a power stone that holds part of his lost spark, Jaya Ballard, who reveals herself and begins to train Chandra in more powerful forms of pyromancy, and Liliana's brother Josu, who's a lich controlled by the Belzenlock-owned Cabal. They all find the Blackblade, take a trip on the recovered Weatherlight, almost get eaten by a handsome young man, defeat Belzenlock, and start working on their plan to take the fight to Bolas, when he just turns up and says, "You fools! Liliana's contract has a clause in the small print that upon the deaths of our 4 demon signatories, it defaults to me. I own her soul now! You fucking idiots, you absolute rubes!" and spirits her away. Then Jace turns up without a shirt on, everybody asks what he's been doing, and he says, smash cut to Ixalan a few weeks ago. Jace lands there with amnesia again and gets picked up by Vraska, who's now working for Bolas and runs a pirate ship. Girl boss alert! She's supposed to locate the Immortal Sun, a fabled artifact which was the thing meant to imprison Bolas on this plane all those years ago, and which is also making it so that she and Jace can't planeswalk away from this tropical paradise. Instead of killing him, Vraska pities the utterly memoryless Jace and takes him aboard her pirate ship. During their travels, not only do they find the legendary golden city of Arasa, where the sun is located, but also find each other. Yeah, that's right, the wizard cop and the Gorgon pirate are falling in love. Then, thanks to a
Yes.
clonk on his noggin, Jace gets all of his memory back, even the stuff from his childhood that had been purged by Alejandra, and forgives Vraska for all of her misdeeds against him in the past. Vraska is also party to this surge in memory, becoming dismayed after seeing how heavily manipulative Liliana's relationship with Jace was. Fuck me, this story beat whips ass. A collectible card game's tie-in digital narrative has no right to be as nuanced and touching as this. Anyway, Jace wipes Vraska's mind with her consent so that she can work as a sleeper agent under Bolas for now, and Tezzeret collects the Immortal Sun using the planar bridge in his body when Vraska gives him the coordinates to it. Watley is a native to the plane who planeswalks to Kaladesh after the sun is removed and starts to date an artificer planeswalker called Saheeli there, and Azor tries to stop them all, pretty homophobic of you guy, but Jace wipes his mind and leaves him on the island that he himself arrived on. God, this guy loves fucking up Sphinx's minds. And the Sun Empire of the island of Ixalan, now in control of the Golden City, foment a desire to sunset invasion the Iberian vampires that had been trying to do a colonialism on them. Oh, my patron here tells me that the plural of Sphinx is sphinges. I'll let Eminem know we found another word to rhyme with orange. Hope you're tired of the good stuff, because here we get into the era of magic storytelling that made me fall out of love with the lore.
And that with War of Spark, I feel like, oh yeah, rockets. And hell, it's like there's my desktop audio fucked up, and like there's a good 15 minutes where it was just quiet, and yeah, it's like start to finish, it's wild as hell. Okay, so this is I guess part of the story where some yeah. This is a part of the story where Dahlia himself says that they kind of start to suck. But I will say, like, everything before this point is wild as hell. So I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but we'll see how how it degrades what has happened so far.
Let's go! War of the Spark! Bolas's minions spring into action on Ravnica. Domri Raid, an ideologically incoherent runt, is boosted into leading the Gruul clans to sow distracting chaos on the plane. Vraska kills Isperia, the guildmaster of the Azorius, so that Dovin Barnes, still bitter from the Gatewatch, doing pretty much the exact opposite of what he hired them to do, can surveil the entire city and install the Immortal Sun on the plane. Ral Zarek, a somewhat on-again, off-again accomplice, is Inception-style inspired to develop Project Lightning Bug, a means to call all of the multiverse's planeswalkers to the city in case Bolas attacks it. Kaya, a similarly non-committal minion, has taken over the Orzhov Ghost Crime Syndicate but ends up just killing the leadership and releasing the souls of their debtors into rest. Tezzeret sets up the planar bridge, and Liliana is forced to use the Chain Veil to take control of Bolas's vast army of Eternals. The portal is opened slap bang in the middle of the city, and the army begins to march through straight into Ravnica, slaughtering everybody in their path, and Ral turns on his beacon, which is exactly what Bolas wants. He turns on the Immortal Sun to prevent escape from the plane just as all the multiverse's planeswalkers begin to arrive, and Bolas begins to suck their sparks from their body to fuel the Elder Spell, a ritual that will combine all of their sparks into his body and give him pre-mending levels of power to rule the multiverse. Domri Raid, along with absolutely loads of unnamed planeswalkers only introduced into the narrative to die in the background, get killed off, and the Gatewatch have to mount a desperate last stand. It's all going terribly until it's not, and all of Bolas's minions are either killed, get unamnesiaed and fight him, or run away, and Bolas is defeated by the Blackblade. Oh, wait, that didn't work. Wow, that shit's garbage. But wait, Liliana is in control of the zombies who are meant to be harvesting sparks, and even though she knows this will forfeit her life, she turns them and two of the resurrected gods of Amonkhet that Bolas eternalized as his personal bodyguards onto the dragon himself, ripping out his spark. Bolas tries to kill Liliana in response, but Gideon takes the burden of her contract onto himself, dying and being reunited with his childhood friends, and saving Liliana and the multiverse in the process. Niv Mizzet, who died just before the invasion, is resurrected by the guilds after Jace resigns from his job, and the dragon becomes the new living guild pact and arbiter of law on the plane, assuring everyone he won't play favourites, especially not to the guild he's led for thousands of years that shares his name and branding, and Ugin spirits Bolas away to his meditation realm and has held him prisoner ever since. Oh, and Dak Faden also dies. He has absolutely no impact on the main narrative of Magic the Gathering, despite being one of the story's best characters, and it's a travesty that his introduction into the canon is when he gets killed off in the trailer for War of the Spark. May God have mercy on Greg Weisman and Nick Kelman's souls. Next,
Too bad. Like the first story after apparently it started to go down. Like easy to follow at least. Like Nick Bolas tried to take over Ravnica and try to kill all of the planeswalkers in there. But I have a feel like it might go more downhill. Let's see.
Next comes War of the Spark Forsaken, and until somebody beats me in an arm wrestle where the stakes are that if I lose I have to agree that the events of that awful garbage are canon, I simply refuse to acknowledge it as anything more than a hideously overpriced piece of amateur fanfiction. Dovinbarn wasn't killed off, Chandra didn't randomly decide she is and has always been straight, and Ajani didn't grin his Leonin grin. We're moving on. Palette cleanser time. Garruk is still cursed by the Chain Veil, which Liliana has now disposed of in an attempt to hide from the many planeswalkers who are on Ravnica who just want to talk. The Beast Whisperer has been enthralled by the Fey trickster Oko into being a helpful dog servant. Oko is a quirky agent of chaos and almost sends the whole plane of Eldraine into war by turning its king into an elk. The king's children, Rowan and Will, discover this and undo the curses both on their dad and on Garruk, only for Oko to get away, and the horrible truth about the twins' birth is revealed. Turns out their birth mother, who they thought was a lady who died before they were born, was actually a witch who their father whilst he was on a quest, and he was only saved when their heroic stepmother came looking for him. This traumatic revelation ignites both their sparks and they disappear, with Garruk promising their parents that he'll look after them and planeswalking away as well. Ah, what a good surrogate uncle. This is the last time we will hear from Garruk for the rest of the video. Wow, what a deadbeat. Theros Beyond Death is the next set, and let's see what the official...
Oh, wasn't it? Maybe this is just me like remembering like trailers of Magic. Wasn't he stabbed in the eye? Was that all of Thorns of Eldraine? Yes, it was. All right. Oh, all right. So yeah, I think at this point it's based on the releases of packs, because yeah, Throne the Eldraine, Theros. Okay, I think yeah, we're getting to the point where it's just based on the packs that they or all the seasons they release.
Official story says happened. Well, the book never came out, and this is what we got instead, a story summary that's 20 times shorter than this entire script that, at bare minimum, does make my job easier. Elspeth wakes up dead in Theros' underworld, being tormented by a nightmare planeswalker called Ashiok, who accidentally gives her a special weapon that she uses to escape and defeat Heliod, trapping him Tartarus style, holding a big ball in the underworld. Oh, and the guy she was in love with, who she killed, comes back as a demigod, and the god of fate makes a champion to hunt Elspeth down, but he fails when she planeswalks away, so he simply planeswalks after her. Damn, they'll let anyone be a planeswalker nowadays. Let's go to a new world. Ikoria, a land of big mutated monsters, small-minded humans, and Peter wizards, except with less of the widely reported instances of animal abuse. Vivian turns up pretty much just to hang out with some cool animals, and wait, wasn't she introduced with her whole character's purpose being the wielder of a weapon specifically designed to kill Nicol Bolas? Where was she in War of the Spark? Well, you see, Greg Weisman was too busy working out a way to de-gay Chandra in his follow-up novel, and Wizards of the Coast were too preoccupied making their workers think up new products to release every other week to remember to coordinate consistent storytelling. She didn't do anything in that story, and she's the Pokemon Planeswalker now. Deal with it. Anyway, Luca is a bonder, a human with an innate connection to the monsters of the world, and is exiled from his home city, which hates bonders. He decides to use Ikoria's monsters as a weapon to destroy all of human civilization on the plane, but he gets stopped super easily by Vivian, and his Planeswalker spark ignites because of it. Oh, and the big monster rock that he was using to control the beasts of the world, that was also kind of talking to him, blows up. That's all you need to know about Ikoria. Enough of the new, let's go back to the old. Zendikar has recovered amazingly quickly since the Eldrazi almost totally destroyed it. The wiki says that this takes place only a year after Oath of the Gatewatch, and there's almost no trace of the Eldrazi, materially or socially. Anyway, a Tears of the Kingdom situation is going down, with Nahiri searching for a core super weapon in the floating sky ruins of Zendikar to quell the natural royal, even if using it will kill loads of people on the plane, you know, because Nahiri suddenly doesn't care about the people of Zendikar. She was in the Hell Vault for too long, and now all of her favourite shops are gone, I guess, and she's decided to make it everybody else's problem as well. Whereas Nissa wants to use the machine instead to heal the world of all the Eldrazi's remaining corruption, also quelling the royal, itself an elemental response to the Eldrazi's presence. An obviously better option that achieves both of the Planeswalker's goals, but Nahiri fights against her anyway because Corporate has her picture on the side of the corkboard labelled villains, so the story team have had to change the core's mentality from misled by revenge to senselessly evil. Anywho, Nissa wins, Nahiri is defeated, and Zendikar is finally healed. Also,
Okay, now I'm starting to see the issue when it comes to. I'm starting to see the issue because it feels like they're just purposely switching in and out personalities to these planeswalkers just so they're able to meet a story narrative. Like, at least with Urza, like at the start of this video, he was just purely it explains like he was good once, but as time went on, he just became evil. At least he stayed evil. At least it's not back and forth like this apparently is.
so Jace is there, switching sides as if he isn't friends with Nissa and wasn't on the ground to see the last time that Nahiri had a say in how a plane should be treated. It can't be stressed enough how nothing in this set matters in the grand scheme of things. Kaldheim, on the other hand, does matter. Finally, some good fucking food. Kaya is hired by a mysterious individual, it's Tesseret, to hunt a reported monster on the plane of Kaldheim, a Norse myth-inspired world. There she discovers two things. First, that the monster is one of the Phyrexian praetors Vorinclex, who absolutely should not be anywhere but New Phyrexia and whose presence here is beyond concerning, and that Tybalt, a devil planeswalker and trickster fuckboy, has been part hired, part coerced by Vorinclex into bringing about the Doomscar, the demon apocalypse of Kaldheim. The devil's plans are thwarted and he flees the plane, but not before Vorinclex uses the cataclysmic distraction to steal the sap of the world tree that connects all of Kaldheim's realms together. This is the one thing we didn't want to happen. Oh heavens, look at the time. It's we need a magical school to visit o'clock. Strixhaven is a campus for mages on the plane of Archivos that Will and Rowan are invited to by a mysterious planeswalker called Kasmina, who's the leader of an ancient and shadowy order of planeswalkers and people with planeswalker potential. If the Gatewatch is the Avengers, Kasmina's group are the Thunderbolts. The twins need to stop the Auric, a clan of magical college dropouts, from bringing back the Age of Blood and plunging the plane into the once unending war that they view as having spurred much of its magical innovation. Luckily, Luca is on the bad guy's side for some reason, so the twins beat them easily, but not before a World of Warcraft Kool-Aid man rips Will's leg off. Liliana has also been hiding out here after having given up the chain veil and is trying to turn over a new leaf and forgive herself when the Raven Man pops back up and starts tormenting her again. Well, now that the Eldrazi have been banished, Innistrad...
Okay, wait, hold on. So she was... That's some bullshit. I was like, oh, I almost caused a massacre on my own kind, and in order for me to survive, my friend had to sacrifice himself so I can live. Let's go to school. I'll be a professor for a semester. Why not?
Pops back up and starts tormenting her again. Well, now that the Eldrazi have been banished, Innistrad surely must be doing a lot better. Can you lot handle your shit for 2 minutes? Jesus! Because Emrakul is in the moon, weird stuff to do with the day-night cycle has been going down, with the sun rising later and setting sooner. The werewolves started losing it as a result of being in wolf form far more often, and the humans of the plane have turned to a group of warlocks to bring the sun back. Arlen Cord, a werewolf planeswalker and leader of the smaller, hey, let's not kill the humans maybe, faction of the werewolves, asks the Gatewatch to help, and Teferi, Chandra and Kaya show up to find a key to turn the big make the sun come back machine back on. Unfortunately, Sorin's rival, a vampire called Olivia Voldaren, nabs the key from them as a horde of werewolves disrupt the human festival aimed at stopping the final sunset, and the entire plane is plunged into eternal night. Also, Sorin managed to get out of the wall off-screen before War of the Spark. Now he's back, and broodier than ever. Then Olivia steals and reanimates Soren's granddad and marries him. The Gatewatch crashed the wedding to free Sigarda, Innistrād's last guardian angel. Kind of, another one showed up, it's not important, and beat Olivia, get the key back, and restart the sun. Teferi warns Arlen to be on the lookout for Phyrexians, and oh, what do you know? There one is! Jin Gitaxias is bumming about on Kamigawa with some custom trousers. Peep the fit. Yet another Phyrexian Praetor being off their home plane is very worrying indeed, and Kato returns. As it turns out, everybody's favourite bastard Tezzeret is the reason Gitaxias and the other Praetors are planeswalking, and he has a bone to pick with old Tezzy boy, the person who Apple watched his childhood friend into the metaverse. Tamio turns up, tells Kato that the planeswalker known as the Wanderer is his old friend, and the pair help her return to Kamigawa to fix her spark. Unfortunately, their plan is cut short as Tezzeret and Gitaxias ambush them, kidnap Tamio, and the Wanderer's spark pulls her into a new world. Kato follows after her, and Tamio becomes the first planeswalker to ever be completed by Phyrexia. Previously, planeswalker sparks had staved off the corruption of Phyresis, but Gitaxias' time on Kamigawa had revealed to him a way to negate it. Ruh-roh, Raggy! The Phyrexian threat is growing, and Elspeth travels back home to the city of New Capenna, a now 1920s-style hyper-romanticization of early 20th century worker exploitation, mob violence, and the lie of the American dream, to search for a means to defeat Phyrexia. The plane had previously
Weird saying to like try to continue the storyline of like Phyrexians. Although I will say I do like 1920 aesthetic when it comes to like noir and all that. But yeah, weird
back a
choice.
Phyrexian invasion by using Halo, a substance derived from angels that acts not as a cure but as a weaponizable immunizing substance against Phyresis. But someone else is looking for Halo. That's right, it's old reliable Tezzeret, and he's brought Urabrask, the heretic Praetor who, what's this? Is in almost open rebellion against the new Phyrexian cause and wishes to use Halo to tip the balance of power in the rest of the multiverse's favour? Tezzeret, you old dog, you're doing a double cross. How quaint. Could have done that before you kidnapped a lady who ran a storytelling orphanage and subjected her to a surgically experimental unlife, but better late than never. Elspeth finds the source of all of Capenna's Halo, which is a single young, seemingly mortal angel, the last one on the plane, called Gaida, who sacrifices herself to save Elspeth from the clutches of Obnixilis, who has supplanted the head of one of the city's demon-run crime families. Her sacrifice also sends a pulse throughout the world, returning the rest of the plane's angels, trapped as they were in the city's many statues by the demons who once fought alongside and ultimately betrayed them during the Phyrexian invasion, to the waking world. Like preview season, the train never stops, and we're back on Dominaria, where Phyrexia is invading yet again. Khan has found a Silex that he plans to use to destroy his enemies, but oh no, Sheldred is back and longer than ever, and Ajani throws Jaya off a mech on a mountain because it turns out he too has been completed and is under Elish Norn's direct thrall. Khan is recaptured but is now immune to Phyrexia's corruption, so instead he's disassembled and his Silex is scrapped for 2 colourless mana. Whilst all of this is going on, Liliana finds out that the Raven Man who's been tormenting her all of her life is actually the spirit of the necromancer Lim Dul. Yeah, I knew that mentioning him way back in the Ice Age plot would be relevant. Kind of. Now lacking a Silex, Teferi sends his soul back in time to the age of the Brothers' War, not to interfere, even if his time ghost does interfere just a little bit, but to work out how to recreate and then use the Silex, because the Gatewatch had kind of been winging it up until this point. The Artificer Planeswalker Sahili manages to recreate a filigree copy of the Silex from Teferi's instructions, but he gets caught in a time fracture and ends up trapped and phased out on Zalfir. Hey, at least he got to see it again. With that, now it's time to take the fight to Phyrexia, and look how they massacred my boy! Alright Phyrexia, you went too far this time! A strike team of Elspeth, Jace, Vraska, Nissa, Nahiri, Kato, the Wanderer, Kaya, and Tyvar Kell, an elf from Kaldheim, all join forces to take out Phyrexian leadership and detonate Sahili Silex in the core of the world. Unfortunately, Luca also decided to tag along, so the plan goes horribly. Half of them get completed, and Elspeth has to eat the Silex as Jace sets it off, because Elish Norn grew a Phyrexian version of Kaldheim's world tree that's connected it to the rest of the multiverse, and if this plane is destroyed, all other realities may be blown up too. Hey, at least a corrupted Tibalt gets killed. Fuck that guy. Also, we find out the entire reason that Tezzeret has been working with the Phyrexians is so that they'd replace his strong Ethereum metal body with indestructible Darksteel, and the reason that he was also working against them was because he wanted to enjoy his new body in a multiverse without Phyrexian control, essentially selling out the entire known multiverse for some new rims. Speaking of those other realities, it's time for them to get got. Norn sends the corrupted Angel Atraxa to New Capenna to stop the once-defiant plane from being a threat. She then has Ajani execute Sheldred to consolidate more power in her hands, and sends him to corrupt the plane of Theros, where, whether he's aware or not, the Leonin repays Heliod's betrayal of Elspeth by turning all of his believers, and then him as a result, into Phyrexian monsters. The completed Vraska goes to Ravnica, Tamio attacks Kamigawa, Nahiri goes to Zendikar, Jace wanders off, and the entire Phyrexian war effort spreads across every conceivable plane of reality. Unfortunately for them, however, Luca is now on their side, so they're beaten so quickly and easily that the entire invasion doesn't even last one set. All of the Phyrexian invasions ultimately fail. Well, not quite. They pull a War of the Spark, where planes we've never seen before are brought into the story only to act as off-screen casualties to imply a greater threat that is actually occurring in the narrative. Everywhere that matters, however, does beat Phyrexia, whilst mysterious shadows seem to watch events from afar. But how do they win? First, Phyrexia's Worldbreaker tree is commandeered by the Dryad Planeswalker Ren thanks to a final assault from both the Mirren Resistance and Urabrask's 5th column, and she uses the branches of the tree to reach out to Teferi, finally reconnecting Zalfir with the rest of the multiverse, and the whole plane portals their way into the heart of New Phyrexia. Angels run Halo from New Capenna, whose citizens dropped a city block on Atraxa's head to kill her, to the rest of the multiverse via Worldbreaker, and the invaded realms immediately begin pushing back against the invaders. At some point in all of this, Urabrask's forces are captured and the poor guy gets dismantled. Ren isn't done, however, and rather than just connecting Zalfir and New Phyrexia, she instead begins to swap their positions in the multiverse, which will lead to the latter phasing out of existence. Elspeth also turns up because her story was not yet done or something, and she's an angel now and beats Elishnorn up real bad. Khan also reassembles his broken body and deals the killing blow to the now defeated Mother of Machines, which causes... God, this sucks. Which causes anyone and everyone across the multiverse affected by the Phyrexian oil to shut down. Norn apparently reprogrammed all of the Phyrexian oil to be centrally controlled by Phyrexia or something like that, and so when she died and the plane phased out, it, I don't know, forgot how to oil? To be clear, I'm not mad at the writers for ending 30 years of storytelling with an Independence Day plot contrivance, even though the entire point of Phyrexian oil is that so long as one drop exists, Phyrexia exists. I'm mad that the company that makes the game, and most likely more importantly the company that owns them, deciding that a never-ending cycle of new products and lowest common denominator brand tie-ins are more important things to pursue over maintaining a once-rich legacy of brilliant storytelling in a unique world. Invasion Block was a 3-set epic that lasted nearly an entire year of magic and told the story of Phyrexia invading a single plane. In contrast, the time between Phyrexia launching their multiversal invasion at the very end of All Will Be One to them being completely wiped out from existence at the end of March of the Machine was 2 months.
Wait, really? Alright, so yeah, Phyrexia, All Will Be One. And marching with machines, then yeah, that's so sad. Because this could be like entire years worth of like things they could do. And just compacting it into a couple months just doesn't feel right.
We have
Hell, like fucking while the Eldraine will last for that amount of time.
spent more time and cardstock exploring D&D's Forgotten Realms than we have in the midst of what ought to have been the single most important and game-changing event in Magic's narrative since the original defeat of Phyrexia in Apocalypse. Good grief. Anywho, a gravely injured Malira gives up her life and Khan gives up his spark, both their respective tasks in life complete with the destruction of Phyrexia, to heal and uncomplete Nissa and Ajani. But then Nahiri wakes up on Zendikar, also uncompleted, so... Sorry, Malira, you died for nothing. Turns out getting exploded with Halo and losing your spark is enough to reverse the effects of Phyrexian oil. Maybe. Wait, she lost her spark? Well, the many portals snapping into and out of existence throughout the multiverse has also messed up the sparks of many planeswalkers, causing characters like Nissa and Nahiri, but also Obnixilis, Kiora, Calyx, Tyvar, and some other chucklefucks to all lose their spark and planeswalker status. In the aftermath of the war, Jace and Vraska are AWOL, and a bunch of the planes are having to readjust themselves, like Eldraine, where a sleeping spell aimed at subduing the invaders has persisted and is causing problems throughout the land. Teferi plants a single seed, which is all that remains of Ren, who burnt up in the Worldbreaker, into the soil of Zalfir, and the whole invasion has left Omen Pass throughout the multiverse, meaning that non-planeswalker interplanar travel might be an option going forward, and Chandra finally kisses Nissa, happy pride, see, I told you Forsaken wasn't canon, and that's where we're at. What lies next for Magic's story? How will the aftermath of such an event shake out? Who will be the next grand menace of Magic's narrative? Will Tezzeret follow in Bolas's footsteps? Will the Eldrazi return? Will Limdul's machinations expand? Will Nahiri's hatred of planeswalkers turn into something which threatens the multiverse? Will the cult that Kasmina's in charge of do something? Who were those watchers during the March of the Machine? Whatever happens, I can't wait to get my hopes up that the writers will be given time and space to produce interesting work, only to yet again be disappointed by the breakneck speed at which the company insists that a quantity of cardboard is better than a quality and rich.
Let's take a look here. Okay, Ravnica Remastered, Murders of Karlov Manor, and Fallout. Okay. Outlaws of Thunder Junction and Modern Horizons 3. I mean, at least with that, it looks like it might just focus on Thunder Junction. Then Assassin's Creed, Bloomburrow, and Duskmorn. House of Horror. Interesting. I mean, it doesn't look like it's that much, like, at least looking at it. Because some of these look more like, just kind of like collector's boosters than anything else. But we'll see.
Richness of lore. I hope you can appreciate that, what with this video already being over an hour long, a lot of Magic's deeper lore had to lie on the editing bay's floor, like Daragaz and the other primeval dragons rule, or all of the cool side characters like Nico, Tygam, and the travesty of what happened to Venser. If I had included all of that, then the video would have been far more comprehensive, and I would also still be writing the script for it long into next year. But here is where I do want to get a little bit soppy. The most popular video on my channel is both also the first video I ever released, and also singularly the most viewed video on the internet on the topic of Magic the Gathering's story. It is also, with the benefit of hindsight and my now years of experience writing, recording, and editing videos together, not very good. I've always wanted to make a new version of it, something that I could be more proud of, and something that does a far better job of efficiently retelling Magic the Gathering's vast lore with better audio quality. And when I hit 100,000 subscribers at the start of this month, I knew this is how I wanted to celebrate it. Thank you all for watching. Be it that this is the first video of mine you've ever seen, or if you were one of the first handful of people who subscribed to me almost half a decade ago. Without your eyeballs and without the generosity of everybody who supports me on Patreon, I would not have gotten this far and been able to reassess my work in this grand of a way.
We'll finish off the video. We'll continue. However, I just want to get my thoughts about this entire video, just because it feels very mixed when it comes to all the information that's thrown at you. How it's described, at least, it does seem like there is a good split between what's good and what's bad about how the original story was compared to how the story is now. But me personally, as someone that like consumes media, I don't really have too much of a focus when it comes to lore and when it comes to backstory. If something is enjoyable enough without the backstory involved, I feel like it does its job of being like an entertaining piece of media. I feel that way about movies, about video games. Hell, even watching all this stuff, like Magic is no different to me. Like it's just a fun card game. It's interesting to collect stuff. So I feel like I have a good disconnect between. Uh, I have a good disconnect between like how it feels to watch or play, or like I have that good disconnect between that and what the story is, especially if it's overall like an overall just like big story like this or Star Wars or Harry Potter or anything like that. It's is like I don't know. I feel like watching a war video like this, like it's entertaining and it's educational, but it doesn't really change my outlook about how the game is. All I kind of gather is that Wizards of the Coast is just the same when it comes to bad storytelling as they are with current D&D stuff, but it's all good.
A massive thank you to you all, and an extra special thank you to all of my $10 patrons, who include 1234 I Declare a Class War, 3D0, a Communist Right Dimple, a Filthy Communist Bunny, a Fool of Five Colors, a Gay American
Let's see if you just
Carl, or is it Carl? Phoenix Swan, Brexit Invasion work for supporting the channel, for continuing to stand by me, though my upload schedule has only gotten slower ever since Patreon really picked up. I thank all of you and thank you for continuing to allow me to do this as a full-time job. And as always, stay spicy.
so yeah, good video. In the description of the stream, I posted the link to it. Just so if you want to overlay the video to the beginning of the stream, is because the audio fucked up and I didn't realize until Maze pointed out. Either way, good video, educational. Can definitely see why people don't like the storytelling of newer editions. But like, if the game is still fun, like I'll still play it. Anyways, uh, so so it's been an hour and 50. I feel like the engagement on this video, I was probably not as engaging as I should have been to like at least have it be like a good split. However, this was a good video, and I'm glad to be streaming again. Like I said before, this is just kind of a dip in or a like toe in the water to try to get back into it. I won't be able to stream until next Thursday at the earliest. If stuff changes, I could possibly stream tomorrow. But for now, the end goal is gonna be it's gonna be Thursday, then possibly Saturday. So if you guys like the stream, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you guys later.